Greetings, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're at, and welcome to Salt Project Community Open Hour. Can everybody see my slide deck? Yes, you can. Great to have you all here. Big day today. We've got a lot of stuff to talk about. It's open hour for March 21st, 2024. It's hard to believe it's already March, end of March at that. Okay, Salt Project. Here's where you can find us. One thing that we should probably put on here, and I haven't, and I apologize, saltproject.io. That's our website. It is a hub of all things salt information. You can get started using salt in just a few minutes. If you come across people in your personal network, in your professional network that have an interest in using salt, please send them to saltproject.io. You can also send them to YouTube for instructions, tutorial learning. We were talking about Salt Comp, our past Salt Comps a minute ago before we hit the record button. We have dozens and dozens and dozens of Salt Project lectures from Salt Conf available on YouTube. It's just the Salt Project channel. Also on GitHub, Reddit, LinkedIn, the Hacks podcast with Tom Hatch, who's here on the call. Hey, Tom, thanks for being here. Tom Hatch and yours truly. X, Facebook, Instagram, and a little thing called Slack, which we're going to talk about here in a moment. So moving on today, general updates, important news, as I was saying, about the Salt Project Slack channel. We're going to get to that here in a sec. Here's what you need to know. Well, that sounds ominous and mysterious, and it is with Derek Arnold. And then we have a new Salt Project Code of Conduct with Alyssa Rock. This is really cool. She has brought her genius to bear here on Salt Project, and she's going to take a minute and tell you about it. And then, of course, community Q&A. I want to give a shout out to Thomas Phipps. We had Thomas Phipps lined up to present in Salt Project Open Hour today. However, he's sick and under the weather. So old reliable, not so much today. He can't be here today. And Thomas, we wish you well. Okay, Salt Project Community Open Hour has a new schedule if you've not been here in a while. We now do open hour once a month. It's on the third Thursday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Pacific time. That's 11 a.m. to noon Mountain time, and you can kind of do the math there as you work your way east. Our next Salt Project Community Open Hour is going to be on April 18th. So please mark it on your calendar, or you can always just, as I said, go to saltproject.io. Look for the community calendar there on the website, and we've got them all there listed for you, including the Zoom links for you to attend. That's also where you can find out more about the Salt Project working groups. Shane Lee leads the Windows working group, which is doing quite well. We have the extensions working group. Shout out to Barney Sowood, who is the leader of the security working group. We've got a bunch of them there. Jeff Neal with the formulas working group. We have a working group to suit your fancy for sure. And we'd love for you to become involved in one of those if you're not already. You can go to saltproject.io/working groups to learn more. Okay, so now the big news of the day. Why don't you take a look at that first bullet point right there, and that says it all. So as you all know, SALT has gone through a number of different changes. SALT Project has gone through a number of different changes over the past couple of years, including the acquisition of SaltStack to VMware and then VMware to Broadcom. Decision has been made at the corporate level by Broadcom, by Hock Tan, the CEO, and his contemporaries. We are no longer going to be using Slack here at Salt Project. Slack is going away. This applies to not only us here at Salt Project, this is across the board at Broadcom. Every open source community, every department, every division, every team, Slack is no longer allowed at Broadcom. This is going to be effective immediately if you are a Salt Project community member. Is Slack going away right now for Broadcom? No, it's not. In fact, it's going to be around until the end of June. However, we've made a decision to migrate everything now. Let's just rip the Band-Aid off and let's just get on with the damn thing, for lack of a better term. We just want to get this done so that we don't have any confusion or any problems as we move forward. So our Slack channel, because we have a contract with Slack until the end of May, is going to remain live. The Slack channel is going to remain live. However, we are working, as we speak, we are working towards making that read-only. So the ramp down for Slack begins now. As of this announcement, we're going to be ramping down Slack. It's still functional, like I said. Some things will still be able to be, posted on, commented on. However, that is going to be changing and changing rapidly. So Slack very soon will be read only. Even though it's live, you can go there, get your archive material, copy and paste, do the things that you need. Let me go back to this. Community members, again, like I said, will not be able to add to Slack. We have searched high and low. I just kind of ruined the announcement kind of by jumping to the next slide inadvertently. We are going to be migrating everything and indeed have migrated everything to Discord. We've searched high and low for this replacement. We've looked at a bunch of different options. The SALT core team, SALT project leadership, myself have spent the past several months actually waist deep in trying to figure out an answer to this Slack problem. We've decided to move to Discord for a couple of reasons. Number one, it is very similar to Slack in its functionality and its features. This should be a very easy transition for all SALT project community members to just go join Discord. Take your profile over there. Everything's been migrated over. We'll talk about that here in a second. And we should be able to pick up right where we left off. As I said, the SALT project Discord workspace is live now. You can join right away. There's the link. This is important. There is a blog that's live right now. The blog is available on saltproject.io, and it has all of the links to go sign up right there. We do know that this is going to create a disruption. We do know that this is going to be a pain short term for some of you. For others of you, it's just as simple as just going to Discord and joining. Just that simple. And then you carry on there as you have carried on with Slack. And for us, that's the best possible way that we could do this. One thing that I do want to stress, one thing that I do want to make sure that you're all aware of is that this was not our call. We had absolutely no say in this. And the only thing that we were able to do is pivot and come up with an option. So while some of you will no doubt be mad about this, please know that the people that have had a gutful of this at the top of the list is me, Alyssa Rock, Tom Hatch, Derek. There's a bunch of us that have been dealing with this for quite a while, and we understand your frustration, we understand your pain. And to complain about this is, for me to say don't complain about it would be tantamount to me saying we're not a community. I understand that some of you are going to want to be upset about this and voice your displeasure. I totally get it. And please know that you can do that very same thing to me. If you would like to contact me and vent and make your voice heard, I'm all about it. I promise you I am. Unfortunately, the only thing that I'll do is say, hey, I hear you. I totally get it. Go to Discord, because that's really the only thing that we can do at this point. As we're talking about this here, Tom, is there anything that you'd like to add to this? Would you like to jump in here and add anything? I know I'm putting you on the spot. You certainly don't have to if you don't have anything to add.
Oh, yeah, no, I can definitely add here. This has been, I generally feel like this has been a pretty unfortunate situation. And it's been really interesting as we have not only pushed really hard back onto our corporate overlords to stay on Slack, but literally every open source project under the VMware umbrella has collectively gone back to complain and moan about this. And the universal response has been no. To the extent of you need to stop asking, or you're gonna start getting in some real trouble. And so, yeah, I mean, the end result there has been that we don't really have any say here. Now, the upshot with Discord is that unlike Discord, it doesn't come with a large bill attached to it, and so it doesn't have to even exist under the overall purview of Broadcom. I mean, the SALT project is setting it up, et cetera, et cetera. But we were paying quite a lot of money to thanks, Jace. Jace just put in the comments. So why will Broadcom allow Discord? Shadow IT.
Well, the nice thing is that Broadcom's outside the loop, Jace, to answer your question. It's outside the Broadcom loop. It's open source.
Yeah, so technically this isn't managed by, or basically Broadcom doesn't have anything to do with the Discord account. And we can do that with Discord. That's one of the reasons why we chose Discord. As we looked over things, not only was it probably the most similar to Slack and has a very large community and user base, And most people seem to be able to get onto that pretty well, but we felt that that would allow us to maintain a communication hub in such a way that we will not have to deal with this liability anytime in the near future.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. Tom, thank you very much. Is there anything else that you'd like to add to that?
I don't think so. Just kind of sorry about that, but how do I put this? There's a lot of one that there's a lot of fights that we got to fight for, and occasionally we lose. And this was one of them.
Yeah,
Uh,
if it helps you all as you're viewing this either live here on the call or post-mortem on YouTube, please know that I personally took this fight along with Derek and Tom all the way to the CISO or the CISO. We've never figured that out, have we? The CISO or the CISO. We took it all the way to the CISO and then eventually to the CTO himself. And it frankly didn't go well. I was rebuffed very, very quickly. So just know that we fought all the fights that we could fight. We did all the pushback we could do. And look, we've all had jobs. We all have jobs. We're all employed. We all understand. We're all big boys and girls. We all understand when a decision is made. The decision is made, and we have to pivot and figure it out. And that's what we're doing here. I personally, this is just me, and there may be many of you that disagree with this. I personally, the Discord is going to be fantastic for us. That's not spin. It's not me kind of, finding a silver lining somewhere. It really is true. Discord has a lot of features. It has a lot of functionality. It has, frankly, it sounds cringy. I know when I say it, it's actually a bit more fun than Slack. And I think long term, once the smoke clears and we all adjust to it, it's going to be an excellent fit for Salt Project. You can go get on the Discord right now. I'm watching Discord on my other screen here. I'm watching many of you jump in right now, which is great. So thanks for doing that. It should be a pretty easy transition. We do have a blog available that has more information on this at saltproject.io. I would be very grateful, as would Tom, and the entire Salt Core team would be grateful if you could spread the word and make this transition as easy as possible for everyone in the Salt Project community. We've got just under 20,000 people that are in that Slack right now. So that's going to be a huge shift. Yeah, Nick, you have questions. Let's try and wait, but because you're Nick Hughes, I'm going to say take it. What's your question? Go for it.
I'm just trying to bring up some stuff that was said in chat, and also a question that I have since I just joined the Discord, and that's you say that content has been migrated. What content exactly? Because like the Salt Extensions channel is completely empty in Discord.
So we actually, Derek, can you answer that? We've had to archive some things. Some things exist like in the general channel that they're there, but they're archived. We can't add to them further. I think there may be a difference between the channels that we've had to archive and those that will be continuing as live. Derek, do you have anything that you could add there?
Yeah, I'll show when I demo. There's a category.
Okay.
There's a read-only category that's pretty much the import of the Slack workspace channels. So you'll see which you can still search and link to, but it's sort of it's a big separate area that you'll see on the left-hand side at the bottom, where under Salt Projects category, these are the fresh new channels that people can post in, because we may be doing some additional importing based on the past few days of what's in the Slack workspace. And since those are all imports not tied to actual Discord users, if someone tries to respond to one, they're not actually talking to an existing user. But it's kind of a way to have a separate, to import the Slack archive into a separate category. And I'll show that when I demo after this slide.
Thank you, Derek. By the way, Derek barely has a voice and he barely has any wind capacity at all. He's one half step away from being Darth Vader. So, there may be some coughing and some wheezing. Bear with him as he recovers from being sick. I'm seeing a banner right now on Discord. Some of you may be seeing this. Unusual join activity detected in the Salt Project community workspace. That's awesome. Thank you very much for doing that. Okay, so I thank you in advance for your patience for all of this. Please know that, as Tom said, this is not ideal. The world is not ideal. The world is not fair. So what we're going to do is we're just going to pivot and be awesome. Okay, and we're going to make the best of it. Speaking of Derek, if you're ready, Derek, can we do a quick demo of this? I'll relinquish the share and let you do your stuff if you would. Derek, can you hear me? Oh, there we go.
Yeah. So I'm showing the new user experience that when you jump in, you'll see a banner at the top that says, hey, you can't quite do anything just yet. Same as at the bottom, you'll have a little hand waving at you. And that is that you need to agree to the code of conduct, which that's going to be after my demo. Alyssa is going to walk through what that looks like. And the welcome page has a walkthrough of kind of what the categories each represent. By the way, this is just a start. This is kind of the initial Discord server. And over time, I could see this evolving based on community feedback and interest on what would just be more beneficial for the space. And for those maybe new to Discord, I have some links related to beginner's guide and also notification settings, because for channels such as announcements, which we now have our announcements set up with our RSS feeds of the website, you can choose to use the notification settings so that your message you're notified whenever an announcement happens, or if there's a particular channel that you're very active in, you could choose to change those notification settings, which by default is just on mentions. But yeah, the welcome kind of walks through, like I said, the basic layout. What you'll see on the right hand side is there's a member list. You'll have our friendly moderators here and admins of the server. Same with SALT team members. And yeah, that's kind of the welcome section, the announcement section. General, could see. I was actually gonna say in my demo, and he beat me to it. Whoever's gonna want to say first, you got to do this, because that's how you get into that hierarchy of awesome. And you're already on top of it, of course. But guess what? There are other channels people haven't said first in, just so you're aware. These are the just baseline first channels that we're putting in. These can be expanded over time if there's a need. We have some SALT project feeds, feed channels also related to our YouTube channel. So there'll be,
which is great because we didn't have this in Slack, right? So you can go to our YouTube and the Hacks podcast right from the Discord page.
yeah. And the bot that pushes them there automatically creates a thread associated with whatever it's posting there. So we have a few of the communities: YouTube, our subreddit, Stack Overflow, GitHub discussions, and there's just an extra channel related to Python specific stuff. And item project, we have just a small section over here, which includes an RSS feed to the item project site. Now at the bottom, there is the Slack archive. As you see, you can collapse categories for viewing purposes, and the Slack archive down below has the history that we have imported using some open source tools to help bring that chat history in, which was a lot of history, by the way. Our workspace had been open since 2017. So it was many days of importing in order to work with Discord rate limiting. So we selected a lot of the populated channels. There were some channels that just only had like 4 messages in them that did not get imported. But this was kind of our best effort of how to provide an archive that is searchable and linkable, because you can choose to link to certain messages or I believe you could probably copy text, do other things with them. But that's kind of what the Slack archive section is, which it included channels that we're not making kind of new versions of, at least to start. We also don't have, if you're used to Discord, we're not starting with voice channels. It's just text channels at the moment. And but that's the general overview of what you'll see here. We do have, with welcome, I mentioned that there is also the rules, which is just another section to see the code of conduct links related to what Alyssa is going to talk about. And one big difference between Discord and Slack is that you have a single account that you can join into multiple Discord servers with, as opposed to having to create a new account for every Discord server. And that means you have to, as a result, follow Discord's community guidelines, because if you violate those and Discord bans your account, that means you'll be banned out of like all Discord servers. So keep in mind, it's not just our code of conduct, but it's Discord's in addition. And I think that's a pretty good overview, introductory to the Discord server. Oh, the other thing is that we talked about how Discord has a different kind of operating model when it comes to how it's funded. And one way that features get unlocked in servers are through what are called boosts. And that is if people have certain Discord subscriptions where they would like to boost to increase like the character count that messages can have by default, or to create a special banner for the server. These kind of things, they can get unlocked over time if users decide to boost the server from the community. So I think that's all for that, Chunga.
Yeah, there you go. And I would like to salute you, Derek, for the NPR voice. Very soothing.
Oh yes.
Very comforting in our time of disruption. Way to go. And if I can, I want to take a minute. This was a huge deal. So I want to say a personal thank you to Derek, of course, Derek Arnolf, Alyssa Rock, Felipe Burke. These guys, these folks worked very, very hard on this. Thank you to Tom Hatch and Jeff Blair as well for everything that they did to make this as painless as possible for us to get this done. I know that this is going to be possibly confusing at first. There's going to be a bit of a challenge to this. Please trust you guys. I know you get it. It's going to be just fine once we switch everything over and we just keep going. If anybody has any questions, you can certainly ask them on Discord, or you can reach out to me personally. Chunga. No, excuse me. My email has changed with the acquisition. It's Jimmy, JIMMY.Chunga @broadcom.com. You can email me there. Or you can just hit me here on Discord, and I'll be with you. Okay, so please, again, I can't stress this enough. Go to the blog on saltproject.io. The chats are coming in fast and furious, and thank you for that. While everybody's adjusting to this, and while everybody's hopping on Discord, let me share this here really quick. I wanted our good friend Alyssa Rock to take a minute and talk about this new code of conduct. Before we do that, I just, again, want to say a very personal thank you to Alyssa Rock. If I can, Alyssa, this is probably going to be embarrassing to you. Forgive me ahead of time. There is no one I've ever met who is more passionate about this kind of stuff than Alyssa Rock. She has studied code of conducts from open source communities around the world. She spent extensive work studying this sort of thing. And even though she's done all of this amazing work, we at Salt Project had a boilerplate code of conduct. It was basically a code of conduct that we lifted from somewhere, made a couple of tweaks and said, this is the Salt Project code of conduct. She came to me and said, hey, Chunga, I think it's time with this new switch over to Discord. I think we should probably have our own code of conduct. And I couldn't have agreed with her more. And so we just turned her loose, said, Alyssa, go do what you do. And what she did was fantastic. So I'd like for her to take a minute, if she would, and let you all know about the code of conduct, why we did what we did, and where you can go read more about it. Alyssa, the time is yours.
All right, thanks, Chunga. So as you know, we have a new code of conduct, and I'm really excited about it, really. So let me tell you a little bit more about it. We can maybe schedule a future open hour to dive more deeply into it if people really want, but I do want to mention just a couple of things just to frame the new code of conduct in the right way. So unlike the move away from Slack, our new code of conduct is actually not mandated by Broadcom at all. It's not being imposed on us by Broadcom or anything like that. Rather, it's coming from me and Chunga and from the rest of the core team and the project leaders. But you might be asking, okay, well, why are we introducing this code of conduct now? Like, why today? And a big part of it is just because we're moving to Discord. And so we wanted to make sure everyone reads our community guidelines and agrees to follow them when they join the new Discord space. And frankly, our code of conduct has needed a refresh for a while now. So this is a good time to revisit that and make some updates. So if you'll just indulge me for a moment, let me geek out for a moment about why I think our new code of conduct is pretty cool. So the first one is that it builds on best practices and lessons learned from many other successful open source projects. As many of you know, I've been a longtime contributor to open source, including other projects beyond the SALT project. I'm a core maintainer and community manager for another open source project called the Good Docs Project, which is a community of 75 plus technical writers that are working to improve documentation in open source software. As part of that role, I spend a lot of time thinking about community management and talking about it on a regular basis with other leaders in open source. And one of the things that I talk with them about is how to have an effective code of conduct. I've spent several years researching best practices around codes of conduct. I've read many books about community management, and I've taken several training courses on how to effectively respond to code of conduct incidents. And the reason I did that was because I volunteered to be the lead author on a code of conduct template for the Good Docs project. And even though I was the lead author, this code of conduct was co-written by a team of technical writers with a wealth of experience from many successful open source projects, including people from Mozilla, Apache, Google, and SUSE. And after we published the code of conduct, we also shared it and got great feedback from technical writers and community managers from many other projects, including the Open Source Collective, Chaos, GitLab, and Canonical. So our new SALT project code of conduct is built from that template, but we didn't just cut and paste it. We built from it and customized it and tailored it to meet our community's unique needs. The second reason why I think the code of conduct is cool is because it has something that most other code of conducts don't have, and that's a very clear and fair response plan. When you go to our code of conduct, you can see a link to our detailed response plan for how our team will adjudicate a code of conduct incident if it ever came to that. And that response plan is just there to make sure that we're transparent with you about our process and that we all agree collectively about what that process is. That way we can ensure that our process is fair, that it's applied consistently to everyone, and that everyone agrees to abide by it. Again, the purpose of all of this is really just so that you as our community can have trust and faith in this process. And so just to say it one more time for good measure, we're not imposing this new code of conduct so that we can kick people out or be draconian or anything like that. I like to think of it more as being like an insurance policy that hopefully we'll never have to use, but it's there if we really need to. And it's not coming from Broadcom. It's mostly being driven by me. Yes, me, with the blessing of Chunga and the rest of the team. And it's not being mandated by Broadcom. And I hope by now that I've built up enough goodwill with our community that it can just ask you to be supportive of the new guidelines. And the last thing I want to say about this topic is that our code of conduct is a living document, and we can always update it as needed. So please read by it, live by it. And if you have any feedback or questions or concerns about the code of conduct or the response plan, you can contact me on Discord or any of the other community moderators, and we'll be happy to listen to you. Okay, that's it for me, Chunga.
All right, listen, a round of applause for Alyssa. Well done. Round of applause, round of applause. I like that Tom gave the thumbs up. In fact, I wonder if I can do this. No, not working now. That's disappointing. How about this one? There we go. Much better. All right. Good job, Alyssa. Thank you so much. There's, when it comes to the code of conduct, we have this saying here at SALT Project that we're one of the largest, friendliest, and most loyal communities on the planet. That's very true. We very much believe that. And I think the code of conduct not only further ingrains that in everybody, but further enforces it, that it can continue to stay that way. So at least I really, really appreciate the work that you did. I think we all do. You hit it out of the park, and thank you so much for doing it. Okay, well, Thomas is out sick, so now the moment has arrived. Q&A. Hopefully there's a lot of questions. Hopefully we have a lot of questions about Discord, because we've got the folks here that built it and can answer them for you. So let's just get to it, shall we? I know the chat has been going like mad. Do we start there? Or do we just want to fire off some questions? Nick, I'll defer to you again, because that's just what we do here, right? Do you have anything?
I do have something. So issue 66182, dropping the link in chat. I put this out here as kind of like a discussion item, and didn't put it in discussions because I want this to turn into a PR, hopefully. But was wondering if some core team members could take a look at this and see what they think, and maybe point me in the right direction as for solving for this problem. We don't necessarily have to talk about it on this call, but if I could get some eyes on that, I would appreciate it.
Okay, nobody? Nobody?
No, I'm looking.
We're all reading it.
I have
Oh,
to,
gotcha. Okay.
I was gonna say, I'm looking at this and I'm like, I could have sworn I built that. I must be conflating it with something else. So, the challenge that we went into here, so I guess there's kind of two challenges that we went into here. One of them is implementation. I say that, and then I'm realizing that that's not a challenge. I know how, that wouldn't be too hard to implement. We would just need to intercept the interpretation of the quark passing right before it gets sent into the state function. The main concern that I would run into is just that all of a sudden states become non-reproducible when they're sent out to potentially different machines that have different configs. Now that could be alleviated by config.get. If you're seeing the orange dot comment, the congif.get, that's not a real thing. It's config.get. And that wouldn't be a bad idea, but then again, you would be able to kind of map global defaults all over the place. Now, the follow-on to that is that could be a ridiculously powerful tool, right? I totally get where you're coming from here, because right, logically you'd be able to say that simply by omitting certain options in a bunch of state files, that you can modify huge amounts of your overall environment kind of immediately. And that would also be nice, because you could, well, I mean, there's a bunch of things that you could do here. So I guess what I'm where I'm coming back with is my knee-jerk reaction is that I really like this idea. As long as I'm trying to think of the right way to kind of make sure that somebody would understand that this could be a dangerous weapon to put in someone's hands. That's all. And so
Yeah,
that's where it's worth discussion.
Yeah, like you said, it is a powerful tool for sure. The use case being setting organizational defaults, right? It no longer becomes like, okay, well, we have to make sure that show changes is set to false for every file.manage state inside of our repository. We can do it with a minion config change, and since we're managing salt minion configs, we can do that and make sure that it's there. And it'll prevent people from having to maintain those state blocks individually, and then also if the organizational outlook changes, right, you can always flip it back later pretty easily. So definitely open to any other suggestions on how to make it visible that, something like this is in effect. But I think that having the ability to do it in a single location is definitely helpful for large organizations.
I think maybe a message in the return that said, hey, you're not showing changes because it's configured to not show changes, just so they know why.
Well, I mean, in that case, what you're looking at by saying not showing changes in a return would be specific to the argument, because I'm assuming that this would be a global state option, right? You'd be
Yeah.
able to just say, hey, every time we see a file that manages, the same way that you'd be able to say, you could simplify your states dramatically by just saying every time we do a service.running, we do enable true. Or, a mounted persist true. So I'm trying to remember off the top of my head exactly what those defaults are. But again, that would allow you to shrink your boilerplate according to your preferences. I do think it would make sense if there was some kind of flag that you could optionally see inside of state returns, or if it was in test equals true runs, where you'd be able to see that your source of truth was muddied from the final render. Maybe it would make sense if this, instead of because this could transparently interrupt the keyword argument loading right before state execution, right? And so it could potentially also make sense that instead of putting it there, it could be put in the renderer, so that you could come back and say, if these defaults are set and those keys are not explicitly defined in even just the high data, that you implicitly put them in there, so that then when you would come back and see renderings, you would be able to see that they were there. So again, it's questions about implementation. Eric, you look like you desperately want to say something.
Yes, I got a couple ideas on this actually. There's a summary section of the high state outputter. Be a great place to have some sort of information, because it's really hard to miss. It's right at the end. So putting it alongside an individual state, make it more easy to, along the other name, ID, and whatever parameters, make it more likely people would overlook it. But having that information be in the high state return, and then interpreted differently, or summarized by the high state outputter would be a good thing. Another thing is just a simple change to the issue template. We have a bunch of boilerplate, a bunch of things we say, okay, we want a salt versions report. That you would also could easily just head off like certain user error bug reports by adding a recommendation to check for modified state defaults in your your bug report template.
Nick, did you have any ideas around implementation?
My initial thought was hijacking the keyword arguments in the state system. The renderer idea is interesting.
I like hijacking the quarks more, for the record. I was just
Yeah.
exploring options.
There's also the prepare call or whatever it is, that checks the function signature. It could check the options at the same time.
And that would be interesting, because prepare call is called outside of the state system as well, or at least it once was. And so that also becomes a question of how universal would you want that to be? And it would also beg the question of, as I'm going back and reading this yet again. Yeah, it would beg the question of whether or not you would want module default overrides as well. Because the prepare quarks function is used for modules as well, right, Eric? I mean, I'm pretty sure it is.
It's
Again,
used everywhere that the loader runs
Okay.
a function, I think.
Yeah, that sounds right. There should be a single gateway for reconciling quarks. If not, then we should look at that. So yeah, no, that would be a really good spot for it.
Would there be an order of precedence issue? Like, would they want to be able to override it from the state? Or have the state be overridden by the local config?
Yeah, so I
So-
have a little POC that I put in place, and basically I only set it from the config if it's not present already. So anything that's explicitly set in the states would take precedence.
What Shane's saying is also really important. We need to make sure that it's very well documented what the order of precedence is. And we generally follow the order of precedence, kind of a classic Unix style or order of precedence that, right, explicitly stated parameters, an SLS file will override a config. Similarly to, right, a command line argument overrides a config in the classic order of precedence for Unix apps. But yeah, that we probably want to spell that out, especially in this regard. Yeah. But again, the more I think about it, the more I like it. As long as we've got some sort of indicator that we can tell somebody this is where these values came from. That's all. That would just be nice. As I look at a Python project and think, where the devil did that dependency come from? And yeah, trying to decide which tool I'm using to get a pip tree, right? That same sort of thing is useful.
Well, if you pass the option in a state, you know why it's not displaying output. But if it's done in the config, then I can see the issues coming in.
Right. Because the assumption is that the state is wholly authoritative outside of hard-coded defaults. And this is so the only concern that I've got again is just that we're diverging from the assumption that there is no interruption.
Okay, is there anything else on this? Can we move on? We okay to do that? All right, any other questions? Oh, it can't be that simple. I see Eric smiling like he's got something on his mind. No? All right, Nick, do you have anything else? Is that it? You good?
I think I'm good.
Melissa, you're so quiet there at the University of Miami. Anything from you? I'm kidding. I'm only kidding. I know you don't have anything. You're good. Okay, if we don't have anything else about this, again, one final reminder and thank you. Thank you to everybody who worked on the Discord migration, of course. Thank you, Felipe, for coming to me and saying, so we're going to Discord, right? Right? So huge shout to Felipe and thanks for your patience. Remind everybody to go check the blog, if you would, please. Check the blog, saltproject.io. Send everybody there and spread the word. We'd be very grateful. If there's nothing else, Shane, would you play us out, sir?
Yeah, so Lance is a pretty uncommon name today, but back in medieval times, people were named Lancelot.
Wow. Thank you, Shane. Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Perfect for this open hour again. Reminder, we'll see you on, I believe it is the 18th of April. That will be our next Salt Project Community Open Hour. We'll see you on Discord. Have a great day, everybody. We'll see you on the next one. Bye.